That's probably the worst sports take I've ever seen.
They have not been performing well at all.
They need to beat the teams that they should beat, and Northwestern is one of those teams.
But I really just don't want to see Brady win another Super Bowl.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping Score with Josh and Ray, a podcast show dedicated to bringing analysis of Rutgers sports and sports around the country. I'm Josh.
And I'm Ray.
And in today's episode, we're going to bring back Dylan McCoy and Laney Ortiz to talk about the Rutgers men's and women's basketball teams and discuss our predictions for Super Bowl 55 between the Buccaneers and Chiefs. So we can start off with the Rutgers men's team. Just came off a win against Indiana. They snapped their 5-game losing streak. The season was in danger of spiraling out of control, but that win looked pretty solid, and they seem to be finding their footing a bit. They have another game on Thursday against Michigan State at the RAC. So I'll start off with Dylan. What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought the Rutgers win was good. You know, they looked a lot more solid on defense. They shot the ball a lot better. They hit free throws, which is, something we haven't really seen this year. That I saw a big attitude change from the team too. They really looked like they wanted to be there. So, things are good. I want to see if they're able to stretch this into a run more than one game. But as of now, things are looking up.
Yeah, I agree. Especially the point about free throws. I think they only missed like 2 or 3, and that was so refreshing because I'm so tired of missing free throws constantly. It's like, it's like pulling teeth. It's like, how do you miss free throws so much? It's like, one of the easiest shots in the game. But they're finally starting to be more efficient from the line, and I think they need to keep that up if they want to go far in the tournament. How about Laney? What did you think about the men's team recently?
It was definitely nice to see them win again. Little shades of how the season started. See kind of, again, what we know this team can do. Again, like what you guys said with the free throws. I mean, it's such a fundamental thing in basketball. If you can't sink free throws, what are you really doing on the court, in my opinion, at least. So seeing them be able to get back and sink those and have them be, easy points and put them on the board, that's super important. Gio's looking like he's climbing his way back, and they notched their 4th Big Ten win of the season, so that's always good to see.
Yeah, the Gio being back like his old self is so crucial. I mean, the past few games, he looked kind of like a shell of himself. He wasn't really the same impact player a lot of the time. You saw shades of it at the end of the loss against Penn State. He started coming back a bit. But this game, he was there for the whole game, leading the team, scored 19 points. And we need him and Ron Harper to really be firing on all cylinders if we want this team to go far on a consistent basis. Ray, how about you?
Yeah, I think Gio and Ron are definitely 2 key players for Rutgers. Ron is leading the team in points per game with 18.3. He's getting a decent number of rebounds, 6.5 per game. But, he's definitely going to need to continue to produce at a higher level, especially with the way this season has gone. I think Rutgers has to rely on their big players to kind of step up and make sure that they have a good run to the end of the season here, because right now they have an 8-6 record. That's definitely not ideal. They're 4-6 in the conference. So as they go into the next couple games against Michigan State and Northwestern, they're definitely going to have to perform well against Michigan State, because they're 8-4 right now. They're not the best team in the conference. They're 2-4 in the Big Ten, but Rutgers is still going to have to, I guess, put their foot on the gas a little bit if they really want to make a statement and try and get a good seeding in the tournaments.
I think what you said about the record, the good part is that the Big Ten is the hardest basketball conference in the country for men's basketball. So that's going to be taken into account when the committee is deciding tournament teams and stuff. I think as long as Rutgers hovers around 500 record in the conference, they'll be fine. It's not the kind of elite status that we wanted at the beginning of the season, but as long as we make the tournament, that's a step forward for the program. Last year, of course, we would have made it, but the virus and all that, we know the story. As long as they don't completely fall off the cliff and they get into the tournament, I think that should be considered a success. Peichel, I think, has done a great job building the program. I saw some takes online that people wanted to fire him after the losing streak. I think that's complete bogus. That's probably the worst sports take I've ever seen. I mean, that it's just ridiculous. Like, what was Rutgers basketball before Steve Peichel? Nothing. Literally nothing. So
A scandal-filled program.
yeah, I think he has the ship almost righted. I think the team still is figuring some stuff out. You saw a different lineup, the starting lineup. Paul Mulcahy was in the starting lineup. Montez Mathis didn't play very many minutes. You want him to start getting back to his old self. Caleb McConnell was starting, which is great because he wasn't even supposed to play this year. We thought he would be out for injury, but he came back earlier than expected. So there's still things to work out, but I think the team is trending back in the right direction, and that's what we want to see. Next two games against against Michigan State Thursday and Northwestern on Sunday. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the upcoming schedule. I'll start off with Laney.
So with Michigan State, we've already played them once this season when they got the better of us last time. So for us, really, what you got to focus on, you got to look out for Aaron Henry. He put up 20 against us last meeting, and that's a big number, and you can't let that happen again. So making sure he's covered, making sure he can't put up 20 again, that's super important. Michigan State, I don't believe, has played very much due to COVID. I think they've had to postpone the last couple of their games, if I believe I'm remembering correctly. So we might be catching them a little bit on cold feet. So that, that could be good. But, it's just, you got to keep the momentum going. You can't fall back into a losing streak. You want to start to get some back-to-back wins going.
Yeah, I think what you said about Aaron Henry is a great point. He was totally dominating us on the offensive end last game. That last game against Michigan State was the worst game I've seen the team play since probably 2 years ago, before they were a tournament contender. That game was atrocious. I mean, it was crazy. They were never in from the start. They were never in the game. It was terrible. I think they lost by 23 points.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
It was disgusting to watch. But I'm expecting a uptick from that performance. I think being at home is going to help. Even though the home advantage is not what it was last year due to no fans, I do think it'll help the team psychologically. I think they need to score more on the offensive end. I think the defense has been all right, but the offense is really what you want to have improvements with. Obviously, free throws and field goal percentage. I think last game they barely cracked 40 points, so you want to see an improvement there. Right, what do you think about the upcoming schedule?
Yeah, I mean, just to tack on to what Laney said, Michigan State's last 3 games were postponed. So, it's going to be interesting to see if they come out a little bit flat-footed. But looking at the Northwestern game, this is a team that Rutgers can beat. I think we all know that. And looking at their schedule, Northwestern has lost their last 7 games. So they have not been performing well at all. In those 7 games, I'd say that only one of them was a loss by a close margin. It was a 78-81 loss to Penn State. And other than that, the team has just looked really, really bad. I mean, they haven't played well. So I think Rutgers is going to be able to win against them.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about Northwestern. I remember last year we very nearly lost to them at home, but Geo Baker did his Geo Baker magic and bailed us out. They're not the best team in the conference by any means, but you cannot underestimate any of these teams in the Big Ten, as it is the Big Ten's a gauntlet and it's the best conference by far. You see that by so many teams in the top 25. I think my opinion is they're probably going to have like 9 or 10 teams in the tournament from the Big Ten, which is insane. Then you got Minnesota, who a pretty decent squad. They're 21st ranked in the nation right now, but beatable team. Rutgers just has to kind of get back to their old ways and being solid on defense and being a tough squad to beat. Dylan, what do you think about the upcoming schedule?
I think one thing that they have to overcome against Michigan State, they didn't do well the first game, was rebounding. Rutgers is a team that has a size advantage on Michigan State. Michigan State doesn't have anyone taller than 6'9" in their starting lineup, and Rutgers got almost double. I believe they got doubled in rebounds against Michigan State. That game was really the probably the lowest low we've seen from Rutgers in a while. I think they're just going to have to overcome a well-coached team. It's a Tom Izzo team. They always get better as the season goes along. So I'd assume we're playing a better Michigan State team than we played a couple weeks ago. But I also think Rutgers is better than they were a couple weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up. And when it comes to Northwestern, if you're a team in the Big Ten that wants to go to the NCAA tournament, that's a game you have to win. So Rutgers they need to beat the teams that they should beat, and Northwestern is one of those teams.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, teams like Iowa, you could live with losses like that. Like they lost by 2 to Iowa. I can live with that, right? But you can't be getting dusted by Michigan State. You can't be losing upsets with Northwestern. If they come out flat against Michigan State again at home, it's going to be a horrible look. But I don't think it'll happen. I think they're going to score more than the 45 points they scored last time. And your point about rebounding was great, because rebounding and defense is the identity of Steve Pikiell's squad. And they got just destroyed on the boards. I mean, Steve Pikiell's teams have never been like offensive juggernauts, right? That's fine, because their identity is defense and rebounding. But once they lose that, the defense and rebounding, then they're screwed, because they don't have elite shooting or anything like that. So they need to do better on the boards. Miles Johnson and Cliff Omari will be huge pieces. You saw what Miles did at the end of last game with that big rebound against Indiana. He needs to do more of that. And yeah, so I guess we can move on to the women's team. They keep getting postponed. And off air, Dylan, you were saying you think they should postpone their season. What's your rationale for that?
Well, I think that they've missed a lot of the season already. I think they've missed too many games to where I don't realistically think they'll be considered for the NCAA tournament. Obviously, no one knows how they're going to do the selections, because, every team is going to have played a different amount of games. But, I don't think Rutgers is in a position. They'd have to play like exceptionally well to have enough wins to qualify. And also, I just think it's safer for, people like C. Vivian Stringer, who is a cancer survivor and is more at risk. I don't think that, she should have to come back to a program that was, had COVID, and, that could be a risk for her. And, I just think it would be in everyone's best interest if, Rutgers finished their season.
That's interesting. I didn't know that C. Vivian Stringer was a cancer survivor, but yeah, it would be unfortunate. I mean, I don't want to see more cancellations, because it's like pretty demoralizing. But it is a valid point that it's an uphill battle to make the tournament. I do think it's a battle still worth fighting if it's possible, but they just gotta get back to health and get rid of the COVID in the building, and then I guess they'll see where they can go from there. If they don't make the tournament, I think it's fine. If they finishing the season and not making the tournament, I don't think it's a waste of time, in my opinion. I think it's at least you tried. Laney, what do you think? What's your take on that situation?
I think all of these athletes and the coaches kind of knew what they were getting into when they decided to go ahead with the season during COVID. So I think they have every right to sort of persevere through cancellations and finish out their season. Like Josh said, just because they don't make the tournament wouldn't make the tournament doesn't necessarily mean that the season's a failure and that it shouldn't be played out. I mean, they should at least be given the chance to make a run to make the tournament. So I think it's a little premature to start talking about postponing an entire season or canceling an entire season, just because there's a lot that goes into that. And if they can sort of nip this little outbreak that's going on in the butt, they could be able to pull off the rest of their season, I would think. Yeah.
They do have February and March to figure it out, or just like the early part of March, but a few more weeks to figure it out. They've played 8 games so far, 1-3 in the Big Ten. Not anything special, but if, for example, they won out the rest of their games, they could make a case for it. Ray, what do you think?
I agree with Laney. I think that it is premature to talk about canceling the season, because these games have been postponed. They haven't been canceled yet. And although it might be a logistical nightmare to try and schedule all those games throughout the remainder of the season, I think it's too early to tell if canceling the season altogether would be a better idea, because we don't know how many games they still could fit in. But, I think that if they were to cancel all the postponed games, I agree that playing the rest of the games on the schedule that weren't postponed, it would still be good for the team. I think good for the student athletes, for the coaches, just kind of everyone involved. It hasn't been the easiest year for them, but I think playing out the rest of their games could be good for them.
Yeah, we're in a time right now where we need to be kind of planning as things go along, right? We can't plan ahead too far because we don't know what's going to happen from the next hour, even with the virus. So it's like we need to have room in the schedule to move things around and figure stuff out, and that goes for every sport. So I think, for example, if they miss most of their February games, then yeah, maybe they should punt the season. But if they play the majority of their February slate, then I don't see why they should be kicked out or quit. But yeah, now we can move on to the NFL. We just saw Championship Sunday. The Chiefs and the Buccaneers are moving on to the Super Bowl. I'll start with Laney. What are your thoughts on this upcoming matchup? And what are your thoughts on Championship Sunday as well, those games?
I don't know if it's because I'm just a bitter Jets fan, but I really just don't want to see Brady win another Super Bowl. I just don't. I don't care if it's with the Bucs or if it's with, the Patriots. I just, whatever. Great career, good for him. It'd be nice for him, but it's probably just my bitter Jets fan in me, but it's just not necessarily something I want to see. And I personally love Patrick Mahomes. I'd love to see him go back-to-back Super Bowls. I think that'd be incredibly fun to watch. But putting my personal feelings aside, I think it's going to be a fantastic game to watch. It's going to be fun watching Brady and Mahomes go back and forth. It's just going to be extremely entertaining. They're two amazing quarterbacks that are really changing the way that both of the teams that they're on are, operating and changing the culture on those programs. So it'll be a fun game. It'll be a fun game for sure. Yeah.
That's so funny what you said about being a better Jets fan. For years, I've felt like that with Brady and the cheating stuff and with Belichick and all that. But as time's gone on, I've kind of grown to just appreciate his greatness. I mean, now that he's not on the Patriots, I can live with it more. I'm fine. It's just like him being in the NFC. It's in a different conference. It's like, okay, he's too good. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever.
It's easier to swallow, but I still don't want to have to swallow it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I would rather Mahomes win his second than Brady win his seventh. Because at a certain point, It's like, how many times do I have to see Brady lift the Lombardi in February?
I've seen this show before,
Yeah, I've seen this movie how many times, but it's also nice to see the Buccaneers be in this position. I mean, this is not a team that you associate with the postseason at all. And then Tom Brady just swoops in, and there you go. There's the Super Bowl appearance, which is pretty amazing. I will say, though, Brady is not bulletproof. He did throw 3 interceptions in the second half against the Packers. The Packers just happened to kind of choke the game away. They made a terrible decision to not go for it on 4th down at the end of the game, and they kicked the field goal. And the offense never touched the ball again. Brady put the game away, as everyone knew he would. Dylan, what's your take on this whole matchup with the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, and what happened on the Championship Sunday?
First, if anyone was going to get a Super Bowl at home, it was going to be Tom Brady. That's ridiculous. I think that's awesome. But, I honestly did not think Kansas City was going to beat Buffalo. I had a lot of questions in their defense, but, they held up. And if they can hold up against this Tampa Bay offense even a little bit, Kansas City's offense is too good. There's too many weapons. There's too many people that are effective with the ball. And Patrick Mahomes can pretty much put it anywhere he wants. And, I think I don't know if this game symbolizes, like a changing of the guard in terms of like elite quarterback in the NFL. But, I think this is the game where Mahomes, shows everyone that he's the best quarterback in the league, and he goes back to back with his Super Bowls. So I like KC in this game, and I think it's gonna be a pretty high scoring game, a fun affair.
Yeah, it's the interesting what you said about changing the guard. I think we thought that was coming 2 years ago with the Patriots and Chiefs AFC Championship, and then Tom Brady wins as always. But now it's different circumstances, right? Tom left New England because they decided not to put any more players around him for whatever reason. Very, very, very questionable, but that's another discussion. He left to a team that decided to build around him, and look what happened. Yeah, I agree, though. I think the Chiefs are too good. I disagree with your take that the Bills, you thought the Bills were going to win. I didn't really think they had much of a chance. Not that they're not a good team, they're just not the Chiefs. I mean, think about the Bills. They have a solid defense, right? Then they got on offense, they got Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and that's about it. No other pieces that really jump out at you. While the Chiefs have just like, it's like some kind of all-star team. It's ridiculous. It's like the equivalent of the Warriors, but the football offense. The way the Golden State was with their championship teams. But yeah, Ray, what do you think about this Super Bowl matchup?
I think it's going to be exciting. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think both teams have some offensive weapons that are going to be fun to watch. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this game. I just don't really see the Bucs winning. I think the Chiefs are just a better team. Simple as that. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see who's going to beat the Chiefs for the near future. They're too explosive. I mean, Tyreek Hill runs like he's like Usain Bolt, and then you got Travis Kelce. No one can cover him. Mahomes is like ridiculous. He has like a toe injury, and he almost had a concussion, and he still plays like the best in the league. So I don't see anybody knocking that team off for a while. I think it is sort of a change of the guard, how like the Chiefs are kind of the new dynasty coming up. And Tom Brady is kind of on his way out, although he's still very good. I don't see him playing past next year. I could be proven wrong because he might play till he's 60. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. And Laney, just to confirm, you do pick the Chiefs, or are you going with the Bucs?
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs.
Okay.
Going with the Chiefs.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's the popular pick. But, yeah, should be a great game. I think it'll be very entertaining. I think it'll be one of the best matchups we've had in a while, maybe since the Eagles and Patriots won.
Yeah. So that's all for today. Make sure to join us next time on Keeping Score for more sports updates. And make sure to follow the Daily Targum on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content.